So welcome and thank you for joining us today, everybody. The National Organization of Minority Athletic Directors, NOMAD, is pleased to launch our webinar series with our mission, our purpose, and the importance of networking. I am Anthony Thomas, the co-founder of NOMAD and the director of athletics at Francis Parker School here in San Diego, California. This will be my 22nd year in athletic administration, and I cannot express to you how excited I am to have you all here. Your presence verifies the very need for why we started this organization. Over 100 athletic administrators from across the country have come together today in support of one another and our professional development. Before we get into the topic for today, I would like the board of directors to introduce themselves. I feel very blessed to have built this organization from the ground up with these people, some who I have never met prior to beginning this venture. Kevin, you got to unmute.
Sure. Did you get me?
Go ahead.
Kevin G. Adams, Henrico, Virginia, 20 years, athletic director.
Ira Childress, Gulliver Prep, Miami, Florida. This is my 15th year in athletic administration.
Alicia De Jesus, Director of Athletics, PE and Health, and Student Activities for Middletown Public Schools in Middletown, Connecticut. This is my 10th year as an athletic administrator.
Anthony Fisher, District Director of Athletics, Minneapolis Public Schools in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and this is my 13th year as an athletic administrator.
I'm Sean Knight. I serve as Assistant Director of the Virginia High School League, the State High School Association in Virginia. This is my 15th year as an athletic administrator.
Hi, I'm Monica Maxwell. I'm the Athletic Director at the School City of East Chicago in Indiana, and this is my 10th year as an athletic administrator.
Janice Pritchett. I am the Athletic Director at Lake Braddock Secondary School at Fairfax County Public Schools. This is actually my first year as an athletic administrator.
Rob Raffay, Director of Athletics at Marin Academy in San Rafael, just outside of San Francisco in California. It's my 20th year as an athletic administrator.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Reed. I'm Athletic Director at Bishop O'Dowd High School in Oakland, California, and this is my 19th year as an athletic administrator.
Hello, folks. My name is Tammy Schambelmeyer, and I am the Director of Athletics at Bloomfield High School and the Coordinator of Physical Education and Health, and this is my 20th year as an athletic administrator.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Snyder. I'm the Assistant Director of Athletics in Broken Arrow at Broken Arrow High School, and this is my first year. I'm 8 months in as an Assistant Athletic Director.
Aloha, everybody. My name's Rick Toon. I am the Associate Athletic Director for Punahou High School in Honolulu, Hawaii, and it is my first year as an athletic administrator. Welcome.
Thank you, Rick. So as you can see, we are a diverse group of individuals from all across the country who believe in the mission and purpose of our organization. The National Organization of Minority Athletic Director seeks to provide a professional organization that supports and develops minority and underrepresented athletic directors in secondary schools. NOMAD seeks to provide resources such as mentoring, the sharing of ideas, networking and leadership development in order to increase membership, participation, and opportunities for minority and underrepresented athletic directors. In doing so, NOMAD will empower their members and create an environment of professionalism, mutual respect, and understanding while supporting the values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Some of our guiding principles. One, We're going to promote the ideals of diversity and inclusion within our professional organization that will support and maximize the impact on the work we do and the young people we teach. 2, provide members with resources that address the needs of minority and underrepresented athletic directors. 3, recruit and retain members into the organization and act as agents to promote membership into the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. 4, promote and enlighten the value of having the difficult conversations regarding race and ethnicity in an effort to support and build alliances. 5, work with and make recommendations to the legislative arms of the NIAAA on issues that affect minority participation. And 6, develop NOMAD into a financially and structurally sustainable entity. So what brought this all about? I'll start with my story. After all of the social unrest this summer, I looked to my professional organization here in California and in San Diego, wanting to try to contact athletic directors of color to have a conversation with them about when we return to school, what conversations we were going to have with our students and our coaches. To my surprise, my organization could not tell me how many athletic directors of color were in our organization. That was somewhat disappointing. And so I felt it was important that we find a way to bring all of our athletic directors of color together so that we can talk about issues that are pertinent to ourselves and how we can support one another. And so this was the beginning of this idea of creating NOMAD. From that, we made contact with Tony Fisher, and I'm going to pass it to him to let you hear from him his story.
Thank you, Anthony. Are you able to hear me okay?
You're good.
Well, good afternoon and good morning in some parts of the country. Welcome all. My name is Anthony Fisher, and as I previously mentioned, I have the privilege and honor of serving as the District Director of Athletics for Minneapolis Public Schools by day and as co-founder and board member of NOMAD by night. To every season, there's a time and a purpose. Here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, an injustice in the form of murdering George Floyd occurred on May 25th. With that injustice came a sense of urgency related to the institution of change. I was contacted by the Minnesota Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association president to help institute that change here in Minnesota for athletic administrators who look like us, sound like us, and come from similar backgrounds as we do. After a lengthy conversation, a plan was formulated. That plan was to create a diversity panel to allow the MNIAAA Executive Board an opportunity to clearly understand why diversity was important within their organization. When connecting the networking component of this particular workshop, I was able to reach out to my extended network of professionals who also had a vested interest in instituting change as well. Joining me in this effort were the likes of Mr. Landis Robinson, our current NIAAA president, who also happens to be the first African-American to serve as president of the NIAAA in the 44 years of this organization's storied history. Dr. Lisa Langston also agreed to join our efforts here in Minnesota, as Dr. Langston currently serves as the NIAAA president-elect and will be the first African-American female to serve in the role of president for the NIAAA. Mr. Mike McGirt, a current NIAAA board member, who ignited this fire in me by simply reaching out to request that I get involved with the newly established NIAAA Diversity Subcommittee, also served on this panel. Mr. Dave St. Peter, the president and chief executive officer of the Minnesota Baseball Club, joined our panel without hesitation. Dr. Keith Brooks, the Eastern Carver County School District Director of Equity and Inclusion, stepped to the table and joined our efforts, along with Miss Lisa Lissamore, a well-respected associate director within our state high school association, who led the direction of our discussion by setting the tone and helping those that were listening understand the definition of diversity and inclusion. Simply put, diversity was defined as being invited to the party, while inclusion consisted of being asked to actually dance. The outcome of this panel discussion was very fruitful, to say the least. The MNI AAA has made an intentional effort to be more inclusive of underrepresented athletic administrators like you and I. This organization went from 4 executive board members to a proposal of 6 executive board members currently. Those 2 additional board positions were created to include a female athletic administrator and a minority athletic administrator. For the record, a combination of my personal networking group, along with the support of my NOMAD family, injected the necessary confidence in me to be a major part of moving the needle forward for folks like you and I here in the state of Minnesota. If you are having ideas of instituting change within your state as it relates to high school athletics, please do not hesitate to contact NOMAD to support you however we can through that process. To every season, there's a time and a purpose. The season is now, the time was yesterday, and the purpose directly aligns with the mission and purpose of NOMAD for folks who look like us, sound like us, and more importantly, come from similar backgrounds as we do. Thank you for the opportunity to share our story here in Minnesota. And now I'll turn it over to Mr. Kevin Adams of Virginia.
Thank you, Tony. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, I'm Kevin G. Adams, Athletic Director of Verona High School in Eastern Henrico County, around the city of Richmond, Virginia. I've been in my position for over 20 years, and I am extremely motivated and excited about what we're bringing to you today. On behalf of the NIAAA, I come to you to speak on their newly formed DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Ad Hoc Committee. This committee was founded this summer, and we had our first meeting last week, and it was a great meeting. A summary of our working purposes: right now, this committee is supporting elements of the strategic plan of the NIAAA, assisting states with plans, templates, and ideas to help support underrepresented groups, sharing and collecting resources with all organizations, seeking out and identifying future leaders and leadership training instructors, and increasing education and opportunities for all underrepresented ADs. I am pleased to announce that, representing NOMAD, I am one of 5 of our board members who are on the NIAAA DEI Ad Hoc Committee. We are made up of 16 members nationwide, 2 from each of the NIAAA sections. And it is these 2 representatives from each section of the NIAAA that will be reaching down to the states within their sections to help this committee and the DEI meet their goal as far as the NIAAA strategic plan is concerned. Along with NOMAD, another organization, the Greater Community of Women in High School Sports, is also a subgroup that is assisting the DEI committee and NIAAA to meet their goals for forming the DEI, to make sure that underrepresented ADs are a part of the solution. As Tony mentioned, we just don't want to be invited to the party. We want to dance as well. With that being said, I thank you all on behalf of the NIAAA DEI Ad Hoc Committee and NOMAD. And once again, I'd like to thank you all for being with us this morning. And it's my privilege and pleasure right now to turn this back over to Anthony Thomas and Ira Childress.
Ira, go ahead and reintroduce yourself.
Thanks.
Let's talk. We normally talk.
I know, right? Yeah. Thanks, everyone. We're excited to be here. There's a big purpose behind what we're doing, and we're going to talk about networking and get into all of that. Anthony and I are, but just we want to really be there for you. We want to support you. We will support you and help carry the torch forward for all underrepresented groups and minorities out there, because we need it. I mean, we need more of us sitting in seats like we're sitting in today. And obviously we know there's a process to get there, but it's always great when you can have people to lean on, and we're here for everyone to lean on. We want this to be interactive. Anthony and I can talk all day about networking, and we'll kind of lead it off. But we want you to ask questions. I know Kevin's going to be checking in on all the questions that are asked. It can be on this topic, it can be on other topics, but ultimately we want to be able to give as much feedback as we can here this morning. So Anthony, you want to kick it off with the networking, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sharing our screen because I thought it was important. I read this quote from Bianca Miller Cole. Networking is not only about trading information, but also serves as an avenue to create long-term relationships with mutual benefits. And I think that's the beginning of how you network. Networking is intentional work. You have to have the intent on wanting to reach out. It takes a commitment. I can look up and down this board that I'm working with, and we have done some incredible networking and built relationships on this. So it's very important that how we connect with people. Finding a mentor in your field. One of the things I would suggest to you, and I will challenge to all of you attendees today, is to go out into your community and find an athletic administrator, even at the college level. When I first arrived here in San Diego, I found out that the UC San Diego athletic director was an African-American male named Earl Edwards. I instantly reached out to him. He decided that he wanted to mentor me. We've been working together ever since, working on projects, sharing ideas, and that's a D1 school to a private high school relationship. But he's been great. He's now on our advisory board that we're very excited, and he's going to be bringing resources to us. One of the things that him and I are working on now that we're working on together was talking about how do we go back to our coaches and our student athletes and talk about the injustices that are going on. So the fact that I have that type of mentor already in place is really great, and then I can share that. And I think that's really important, the sharing of ideas as we talk about it. But you have to be proactive. The other thing that's really interesting about Ira and I is that we didn't know each other from the start. Our schools actually have played against each other. So yes, San Diego and Miami, we had a nice little baseball game against one another. But we got to start talking because we're similar schools. And so we started to share this summer just some of the things that we were doing within our community. Ira sent me a letter that he wrote to his community. I sent him my letter that I wrote to our community. And so we've gone back and forth, sort of sharing ideas, running things by each other. And it's really he's become a brother to me in so many different ways in terms of talking about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And I know our focus has been on how we're going to develop a roadmap for others who want to get into this profession, how we go about doing that. And so Ira and I have been networking with that. That's going to be one of our challenges as a board, is creating that roadmap to continue to attract people of color into these jobs, because our kids need us, and that's really important. And so that's what we're really looking to do. And that's what the importance of that networking is. And I can talk about all the different ways of networking and understanding, but it has to be something where you cannot feel like you're alone and reaching out. And now that we're all Zoom aficionados, there's no excuse for not being able to reach out, because you can get and find someone in any part of the country, whenever you need. Rick Toon's on here. He's from Punahou, which is, I always wanted to have a friend in Hawaii anyway, so I got one. But Rick and I we work at similar schools, and Rick reached out to me talking about, what we were doing to try to get ready to go back to school, and we built that relationship. And so it's just reaching out to people for the first time. Iro, how about you?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you, Anthony. I think you're right on the money. The one thing I would say that maybe is not on here is you want to build yourself what I call your personal board of directors. And that personal board of directors should be 5 to 7 individuals that that are in this field of athletics. They could be even in college athletics or high school athletics, but people that you can call, you can count on, that they can help you maybe through an interview. They can help you with some big picture problems or issues that you may have on your campus. So in those relationships with that personal board of directors, make sure you build that over time. And it doesn't have to be done overnight. But I would say if you don't have those people right now in this industry, that's very important. I've been working on a national Zoom call, and oftentimes on that Zoom call, we'll have athletic directors from throughout the country on there. A lot of NOMAD board of directors members are on there as well. But the one theme is that we've had a lot of great special guests. And I've had people that have called me after the call and said, hey, how do you know all these people? How do you get all these people? Well, the reason why I know all these people throughout the country, whether it be athletic directors, coaches, we've had, like Power 5 football coaches to Power 5 athletic directors to high school athletic directors to national NCAA administrators all over the place. The reason why I know all these people is kind of like what Anthony said. Over the years, building those authentic relationships with people. It's not when you networking is not calling someone when you need something. That's not necessarily networking. Networking is building that relationship, getting to know someone, and then finding areas where you both can be beneficial to each other. And so when you do need to call someone, that can happen. And I'll give you just a quick example. I had a chance to meet Brian Kelly years ago, the head coach of the University of Notre Dame. Well, when I got at the NCAA, I asked him to do a couple of programs for me there, and we worked on a few things. So I can call him to this day and say, hey, look, I need you to jump on a Zoom call, or I need you to help us out, with something, and he'll jump on because we've built that relationship up over the years. Same way with different, athletic administrators and stuff like that. And I don't want to name drop here. That's not the point. But the point is having authentic relationships where you can connect with people consistently. And right now, there's not enough, and I'm gonna be real frank here, there's not enough of people of color, of women and minorities in prominent athletic director roles across the country. And there's just not, and we need more in the independent school realm. Anthony and I were talking about that the other day. We feel like we can name maybe 10 or 12, down here in South Florida. I don't know another, and there might be one out there, but I don't know another independent school AD of color. And that's a problem. That's problematic. So we need each other. And it's time for us to lean on and stand on the shoulders of one another in this journey that we're on.
Yeah, that's outstanding, Ira. I want to look. There's a question that came across, and I want to use it as a form of how we network. Right. The question came from James Parker, and he asks, has anyone started, have conversations with their athletes and coaches via Zoom about the social injustice issues that are now being discussed globally? Personally, I want to share my story, James, because we have begun that conversation. I'm fortunate to be at a school. We have an Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. And I've worked with our director to begin to have these conversations with our student athletes. The first group that I've had a conversation with are our captains. Captains of our programs. We had a Zoom call recently where it was a check-in, really. We were checking to see how they were doing, how they were feeling. And these were my white students, my African-American students. I have a diverse captains council, which I'm very proud of. But they talked about how concerned they are, how they're afraid. Some of them are afraid to leave their house. There's a lot of things going on. So you have to worry about the social emotional learning of our students and our student athletes. You got to talk to them about, ensuring them that they're not alone. That's really important. So we've had a couple of meetings because what I'm trying to do is to teach our student leadership how to be better leaders so that they can then lead those conversations with their peers. Because it's not just always about the adults talking to the students all the time. You have to go back and try to teach leaders how to be leaders and what they need to do. And these are some very difficult conversations. In the one Captain's Council meeting that I had, there were tears. There was frustration. Kids didn't want to necessarily play. They didn't even want to come back to school yet. They weren't ready. There was a lot. It got really heavy. But I encourage you that you have to have these conversations, no matter how difficult they will be. You have to have those conversations because our kids, and we all know this, they don't know you care until you show them that you care. And that's really important. So we've engaged in conversations about that. My director of our diversity office, she's found a book that we're going to try to use and read with our kids and give them some tools on how to have these difficult conversations. So we're looking forward to that. But it's really, again, and I've been in diversity work. I was a diversity director at one point in my life, and that work is very, very intentional. And you have to go after it and be open and honest, and let kids be open and honest, and just really break down a lot of walls. We got a lot to do in this country. We have a lot to do in this country. And, you know, it starts with our kids, and our kids are probably a little further along, you know, for some of us than we are in some of these situations. And so having those conversations, that's what I would do. I would start with our captains, get them in a room, see where they are, you know, and different parts of the country are going to see this differently. I recognize that. But having those conversations with your student leadership first is really, really important. Bringing in somebody, another administrator in your school, is also important. Ira, do you have any to add to that?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, but also I think that you could have, you know, like a small town hall with your student athletes and coaches, and you know, because the one thing is to have student athletes involved, and that's great, but the coaches need to understand and be coming from that same platform as well. So make sure you include your coaches. And also, you know, real quick, the last thing I'll say about the diversity efforts and, you know, and having these tough conversations, it needs to start from the top. You know, here at Gulliver, we formed multiple diversity committees that is captained by our head of school. So it really needs to start from the top. I know there's lots of questions out there, so let's start answering some of these questions. I saw the first one, Anthony, was about the book. Can you name the book that your school is using?
Yeah, it's I'm looking it up right now because I just completely went blank on the title of it as we're ordering it right now, but I'll have it for you in a second. Let's move to another question. I'll get back to it.
Okay. It looks like somebody said, is NOMAD planning on a book study in the future as well? I'll let Kevin jump on that one.
Yes, I think, thank you for that question, Mike. I think we have talked about adding a book study to one of our sessions as well in lieu of our monthly workshops. So that is the plan. We will send that information out once that's agreed upon and what book that we'll be using for that initial study.
Thank you. I got back to the book, Ira. So the book is called Race Talk and the Conspiracy of Silence. It's by Daryl Wing Sue, S-U-E. I will type the answer in the Q&A and give you the book. But it's basically talking about understanding and facilitating difficult dialogues on race. This is also the book that the University of California, San Diego, Earl Edwards, the athletic director there, is using with his coaches. And so this is what we were researching and found it to be appropriate for us to use at our level too for our high school kids. So again, Race Talk and the Conspiracy of Silence by Daryl Wing Sue, and I will write it in the question and answer form so you'll have it.
Great stuff there, Anthony. Also, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention, I know there's a lot of unrest as we all are trying to navigate going back through COVID, and some schools have begun, some schools have not. So even if you need help trying to work through that, I know we have certain plans that we've put in place. I know there was some good dialogue before we came on about some different tools in that area. Those are the areas that we can help facilitate as well. If you need help out there working through this whole COVID-19 process.
Absolutely. There's other things that we can do with our books, but I think I want to touch back on your comment about starting at the top. It is the leadership that starts at the top. You know, I don't know how many of us as athletic directors are directly reporting to our head of school or to our principal. That is something that is really, really important, that you have to find a way to engage the leader of your school in those conversations, and they should be welcoming your voice. And seeing you as a leader, they should be welcoming your voice. But I can't tell you what it means to me that I meet with my head of school once a week. We have some real conversations, as he's a white male. He's trying to understand. I feel very confident in our relationship, you know, and this took some time because we all have those feelings like, I better not say nothing if I want my job tomorrow. I don't worry about that anymore. You know, that fear, that, you know, that apprehension, that all left when George Floyd's soul left his body for me. I do not fear telling people exactly where they are now and where they need to be. And if that costs me something, then it costs me something. But when I talked to my head of school, you know, he sent a letter out to our school community, and I just simply told him it wasn't enough. It didn't connect with our families of color. You're going to have to rewrite it. You know, so imagine telling your boss something like that. But that's the relationship that we've been able to build so that we can have that. So become the leader in your school and have that voice, and, you know, and lift up your leaders to get them to where they need to be.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And I think I report to our head of schools here as well. You know, a great guy, but a different background, a different path than myself. And I think you know, you have to have those tough conversations. And in diversity work, there's no way to skate around things. You have to be real, you have to be honest, and you have to be authentic. So that's super important. And it's big, you know, of course you're going to be respectful in those conversations, but they are very important to have real conversations. It looks like there are a couple more questions here. Someone asked, let me get the name, Tina Woodler asked, is there a way to gather information for attendees from this webinar? And so I think we should be able to do that and get that information to you, Tina. I think that's possible. The next question, somebody, it was anonymous, said, is there any access or information about grants and scholarships to support people who are trying to get into this field? I don't know, Anthony, if you want to take that question or
yeah. So that is a great question, and one that Ira and I really talk about this a lot. We're very charged with finding ways to create that roadmap for people to get involved in this organization. So one of the things that we're doing is we've established an advisory board. It is a strong group of college and professional sports administrators, and we will be meeting with them sometime in September, and we'll begin to start looking at those opportunities and resources and how we can create that roadmap, create the scholarships, find different things that are out there. And there's a lot of different things from schools, like, you know, so a lot of us have been doing this for so long, but, you know, do you now, when you're coming up, do you necessarily need to go get that master's degree? Do you need to go do those things? Well, there's some great online programs. There's one right here in California from Concordia University down here in Irvine that does an online one that you can get through, and they offer scholarships as well to be able to do that. And I've been working with them as an alum of their program. I've been working with them on how we can get more applicants of color, because they seem to be shocked that I applied, and I'm like, you know, they were shocked to see me for some reason. And so I'm like, well, then you probably need to get more of us. And so let's figure out ways to do that. So we're going to put together a comprehensive roadmap. That's one of our goals for this year, at least for me, is to put together a sort of a handbook, a roadmap to how to become an athletic director. And we're gonna definitely have that ready. And we'd love to work with anyone on that. If you want to work with us on that, that would be great.
Yeah, and I think that's right on. And I also have a game plan, athletic director game plan that I put together. It's like a 10-page document on basically how everything you need to know to be an athletic director. So if anybody email, they can feel free to email, and I'll share that. I'll share that with you as well. And then I know at our national convention coming up, whether it's virtual or in person, we'll be looking to meet people there and really help young people who are interested in getting into the profession and kind of working with them. I think there's another question here. What's the best way?
Ira, before we go to that, I just want to piggyback on what Anthony said. As he mentioned in the beginning, we've made it part of our mission and our purpose to help minority and other underrepresented aspiring individuals who wish to become members of our field, to enter the field and to navigate their way through it once they're in it. And as you mentioned, we're going to be addressing that because it's not enough just to get in, but it's what you do once you're here. And that's why I think at the beginning of the call, you heard we have experience from a first year AD to those with over 20 years plus. So we're trying to get that information. And with all of our collective experiences, it's going to assist those who are coming behind us. And that's what we're trying to do. So hopefully that helps answer that question as well. Thank you, Ira.
Yeah, no problem. That's right on the money there, Kevin. I think there's a question from Tina. What's the best way to connect with your board for assistance? I'm desperate for assistance in creating a strong culture of respect and understanding and change in my athletic department program here in Illinois. So, Kevin, you want to take that one as well?
Sure. Thank you, Tony. And I put this in the chat. We can be reached at our Gmail account, which comes to the co-founders of our organization. It is the NOMAD Association at gmail.com. That way, any questions or needs you may have will go directly to 4 of us at any given time. And then we will take your questions or your concerns to the board. We're here. We're trying to help any way we can. Obviously, we're just getting started. This is the beginning. And as I mentioned up front, I'm very appreciative of all of you spending an hour out of your day today to be with us in our inaugural workshop. But this is the beginning. So, we need to feed off of you. Give us your concerns, your needs, your wants. Let us know how we can help, because you're only going to make our organization better to serve those of you who are in need.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm looking at Tina's question and this idea about, creating a strong culture of respect and understanding. Some of our board members are incredible leaders, and I'm just wondering if I might be able to call on a few who I already know have done some great work around this. I don't want to put them on the spot, but I think, because I spent time on her campus, I know she's done some incredible things. So I'm going to ask my good friend from Connecticut, Tammy Schondemeyer. Can you talk a little bit about Bloomfield's culture and what you did to create it and now sustain it?
Oh, Anthony, you put me on the spot is right, but I'll see what I can do. When I took over as an AD back 20 years ago, it was all about football. I'm sure you can imagine. And there wasn't a lot of equity. The girls' sports didn't matter. We'd had a football team win a championship and then a track team, a girls' track team win a championship. Football got rings and leather jackets and the girls got nothing, So I made it my focus to dismantle, unfortunately this was unpopular, but dismantle the Gridiron Club, that was just for football, and try to develop an organization that would support all of the sports. Again, it wasn't popular, but I played the Title IX card. And then, just to make equity be the focus. And it quickly became evident that everybody at Bloomfield High School was going to matter, and all the sports teams were going to be given the same opportunities that football had been given. And like I said, the first 5 years were tough and, an uphill battle because football had been king. And now, every sport has the same opportunities, and they're doing great things and all winning championships as well. Not all, but, several of them have won championships as well. And it's because, they felt valued, they felt like they were supported. And like I said, I made that my goal to make it equitable. And again, as a female athletic director, it was a challenge to do that. But I feel that the things that I put in place, it became the culture, it became the things that everybody bought into, and I didn't waver in my stance about it, you know, even though it wasn't always popular, like I say. And football continues to win, but so does everybody else. And that's the goal here, is to make sure that, you know, you stand for something and you have a backbone about it, and you are fair and consistent about the way you do it. And that's been my recipe, I think, for the success and the leadership of that.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why she has 65 rings now, and just ridiculous successful program in beautiful Bloomfield, Connecticut. If you ever get a chance, you got to go visit Tammy. She's a great hostess and does a great job. So I just wanted to give some opportunities for some of our other board members to.
You embarrass me, Anthony. You embarrass me.
Before we wrap up. And I also want to do some practical stuff. So I know, you know, some of us haven't started school yet. Some of us have. Some of us got sports going on. So I don't want to, you know, I want to put one more of our directors on spot, but she already shared this. Amanda, can you just talk about how you guys started volleyball and how that works, and give our you know, attendees some advice on how to get sports started?
Absolutely. Well, it's been quite an adventure. I like to use that word. Learning every day, how can we, you know, get back to fall sports safely? That's been our mission, our conversation every day. And so specifically with volleyball, we went over to our field house and we basically started from top to bottom. What can we do? From the players, obviously their health first and foremost, we've kind of changed how we do things. So we don't switch spots with the visiting team. Our team is going to actually stand. We won't have any chairs. We have hand sanitizer ready for them should they need it, right by their bench. We have balls that have been cleaned and sanitized prior to any opposing team coming on our campus that will be theirs. Throughout the game, we'll have somebody shagging those balls and cleaning them. And then in addition, we have marked off every other row in our field house. And I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you the exact numbers, but everybody, you know, you'll notice the signs that say 6. We have a number 6, and we've put those on the ground to allow for people to social distance. And we make PA announcements. So from the minute you walk in, there's a hand sanitizer station for everybody to utilize. You walk up to the ticket takers, they've got the shields on, gloves, and we have the little plexiglass, so there's no, you know, there's a lot of space in between our ticket takers and the public. And parents and patrons, visiting teams have been so great so far. Like I said, we've had one scrimmage, home scrimmage against each other. It was in-house, a black and white scrimmage, and then we also had a real game on Monday. And it went great. We had our senior night that night. Parents got to walk their kids out on the court, and we did it all safely with masks on. Our kids are wearing masks. They are living and breathing it every day. Our coaches have been obviously pivotal in that. So if anybody has any questions, I know I'm not covering it all and I could probably keep talking, but I'll put my email address here in the chat if that's okay. And then anybody who needs any direction or advice or would like to see our guidelines, I'm happy to share that with you all.
And now I just want everyone, I want everyone to make sure they caught that real important piece that she said that they did, because I thought it was brilliant. Having senior night early, because you never know. Like, right? We all had virtual senior nights in the spring, because we didn't think about doing it March 1st. So that right there, Amanda, you know, first year, 20th year, that's a brilliant idea to make sure that we acknowledge our seniors as we get started, because you don't know if we're going to finish. You just never know.
So true.
May I chime in?
Yeah, Tony, go ahead.
This is Tony Fisher from Minneapolis Public Schools. And while we're speaking about plans, Minnesota starts return to play on the 17th of this month. And so our plan, we had to create something that was general enough to speak to 10 high schools, but then inject flexibility as it relates to being able to speak to a specific sport at a specific school. And so again, just to paint a picture, at one school, let's just say Edison High School, while their volleyball team is potentially in stage 3, football could potentially report a ton of cases and or have a breakout, and we would have to take them from stage 3 and move them back to virtual coaching or stage 1. So we too in Minneapolis have a plan, and if there's anyone that's looking for that information, I can certainly share that out, and I'll put my contact information in the chat as well.
That's outstanding.
Great. That's all. That's great stuff. Let's get a few more board members in here. Anthony, you want to do that?
Yeah, I do. And we're fortunate to have Sean Knight with us, and he's working for a whole Virginia association. So Sean, what are some of the things that you guys are working on? I know you're keeping an eye on Verina because they like to cheat down there in Richmond and Kevin G. Adams' program. So I know you're probably sanctioning them, but what else are you guys up to in Virginia?
Well, one of the things, thank you, Anthony. One of the things we have done, in fact, our executive committee looking ahead and looking at what we're dealing with across the country and more specifically across our state with COVID. On the end of late July, our executive committee made the decision to go ahead and push all of our sports into a condensed sports season model that essentially begins the first of the year. Our first contest date or competition date will technically be December 28th. But as the situation with COVID evolves and as medical professionals, particularly in our state, are anticipating some sort of resurgence, and I think it would be foolish for any athletic administrator not to anticipate some sort of resurgence, even at the building level, to the point that was just shared, planning for and anticipating potential positives or potential cases within one program and trying to isolate that. And so one of the things that we're doing as we look ahead is navigating what that might look like and trying to maximize opportunities for athletes to participate, to play, to compete. And overwhelmingly, people still want championships and trying to modify what that may look like. For many schools, that might entail some sort of restriction on the number of people in certain venues, particularly when you start talking about sports such as indoor track, swimming and diving, those kinds of things. And so those are all things that as administrators, you got to take into consideration. And for us, thinking statewide, to Anthony's point, having to implement policies and guidelines that are general, that are specific enough to address the issues and minimize risk, but also general enough to allow the kind of flexibility that you need in a very diverse state with very diverse needs and to be frank, very diverse political opinions and ideas about where we are with the virus. So it is a challenge, but it's one of those things that as an athletic administrator, you have to have the ability to understand the local challenge, but also be able to step back and see from a 30,000-foot view to approach the problems and the challenges that way as well.
That's outstanding. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Rick, I'm going to ask you from the great state of Hawaii, if you could, you have a school of 3,700 students, if I'm correct. How are things going for you out there?
Yeah, I think we were in a pretty sweet spot where we had a record number of low cases, but in the recent weeks, we've ramped back up. I think there's been a lot of fatigue in social distancing protocols among the residents in Hawaii. And so we've had probably 2 or 3 weeks now of triple-digit numbers, which for our state, percentage-wise, is pretty concerning. I think Hawaii is now the #1 state in terms of COVID concentration, which we were next to last a few months ago. So I think we're a great example of when you're doing it well and practicing all the things that you need to do, it can work. But the minute that you relax on some of these protocols, it can really turn on you pretty quick. So we are now in the last week deciding how to proceed with athletics. We also have a return to athletics plan that I'm happy to share with everybody. It's flexible and kind of toggles through 4 different safety tiers going from green all the way to red. And each sport has different allowable activities in each safety tier. So I'm happy to share that. I'll put my email in the chat. Yeah, we're struggling just like a lot of places. And so we're really happy to collaborate with all of you, because I think there's a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of resource here for people to lean on. And like it's been mentioned many times, that's the real strength of the group, is the group. So the more that we can build those connections, you know, and nurture those connections, I think it'll benefit all of us.
All right. I appreciate that, Rick. Ira, you want to close us out as we wrap up webinar number 1?
Yeah,
Hey, Anthony, before Ira closes, I just want to jump in since you tried to throw me under the bus with Sean there. But anyway, this is networking, and Anthony opened up this session talking about how he and Ira have like schools on opposite coasts of this country. And one thing about networking, Anthony and I go back to 2002. I'm on the East Coast, he's on the West Coast, and we've been networking and sharing for almost 20 years. So it shows the importance of networking, which is why it was our first topic. And we're here to help everyone else network, especially for individuals much like our membership. Underrepresented ADs need to find those they feel comfortable with and that they can network with and share their concerns that may not apply to everyone. So before I let Ira close, I just once again want to thank all of you for spending your afternoon with us and your early morning for those in between here and Rick Toon in Hawaii. Thank you, Ira.
Yeah, that's great.
Ira, before, I'm just going to piggyback on Kevin because he's right. We've been friends, we've been family for 20 years, and I love this man. He has saved me from times when he didn't know he was saving me, because he will just pick up the phone, and I know he's 3 hours ahead of me, but I can call at 12 o'clock my time and he'll pick up if he sees it's me sometimes. But we kid with each other a lot, but Kevin G. Adams is one of the top athletic administrators in this country. He is a resource that everyone should get to know. And Sean has not done anything to Verina because Verina is on top of the mountain. And so Kevin, much love. Thank you for that support. And my new best friend, Ira, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, no, and I just want to piggyback. Kevin is great. I mean, he's helped me already. He had to talk me down a couple of weeks ago from something. So he's very calm in tough situations. Real quick, I want everyone who's on this call, if you can, please share, take a picture of the screen and please share it on your social media. We want all this out there on social media because we want to be able to help others. And if you're not, you know, people may not have known about this, about this Zoom call, but once you share it, they're going to say, hey, how can I be a part of that? And that's our way to really help others. And like we said, I'm not going to be long, be very short here. Let's continue to build. Let's continue to network together. NOMAD, we're all here together. Everybody didn't get a chance to talk today, but we have people who are brilliant and behind the scenes that didn't get a chance to talk. You'll hear them in future. You'll hear them in future Zoom calls. We have some talented people in NOMAD. We look forward to helping everybody that we can, you know, across the country. Not only, you know, with day-to-day issues and problems like COVID, but also whether it be promotions or getting athletic administration or just needing help with your culture in your schools and just working through all of that. Well, not to say we have all the answers, but one thing, if we don't have the answers, we'll try to find the answers. So on behalf of the whole NOMAD board and everyone, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again really soon. Feel free to shoot us an email or send us a text or send something on social media if you need something. Take care, everybody.
Have a good night or good day. Nice work, everybody.
Is this just us now or the attendees still in?
There's 25 attendees still in.
Yeah, they're dropping off.
I think if you end the meeting, it'll send them all off.
I don't know if it ends all of us though.
Yeah.
Good point.
But it's down to 11. All right. We still had 4 open questions, so we might want to make sure we get to those at some point. And
It's actually 3. One was just a Gmail, wasn't a question.
one says having problem joining joining via the QR code.
Yeah, that was a.
Anthony, did you see Carlos's note in the chat to stop broadcasting and
Yeah.
recording? That might take care of our issue.
Yeah.